go. Salute to NBA Nation on this Tuesday afternoon. Another edition of the NBA Report. CP the Franchise, special guest here, man. He covers just about every sport, man, but you can find him on SOY TV, covering all New York sports, man. My guy Dexter Henry is in the building. Today's show, as NBA free agency hits day 3. Yesterday's big news, or one of the big news of yesterday, was the end of an era, man. Klay Thompson headed to the Dallas Mavericks. The Dynasty is officially over. And we're going to talk about what's next, potentially, for the Golden State Warriors, man. So lock in, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Another edition of the NBA Report, man. Let's go. My guy, Dex, how you feeling, man?
Feeling good, man. NBA free agency has been a busy last couple of days, I'm sure, for all of us. But I'm feeling good. Good, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's kick this thing off. Klay Thompson out of there, headed to the Dallas Mavericks. 3-year deal, $50 million total, completing a sign and trade where the Dallas Mavs send Josh Green and 2 second-round picks. What'd you think when you heard the deal?
So first thing was, we heard the Mavericks were the front runner. The Lakers were trying to pursue him as well, and the Clippers. I was like, man, this is tough for the Warriors. This is the end of an era, as you just said. But the team was getting expensive. It's an admission to me that they realized they no longer could contend as a championship team as currently constructed, and they still want to try to maximize the last couple of years if they can and restructure this team around Steph Curry. Now, as far as Klay Thompson goes, look, Klay Thompson was still a very effective shooter last season. The problem is, and you know this, CP, we've seen the last couple of years a regression on defense. And that's where I think about this deal for the Mavericks and how does he fit. I'm not somebody that gets always enamored by names. I look at what they can do, how they help teams win possessions. Look, in a team around Luka, right, an extremely heliocentric offense, it's nice to have another shooter out there, Klay Thompson. There's no doubt about that. But what are you losing on the other end on a team that already has some defensive issues? We saw Luka, who I love, getting cooked by the Celtics, and I mean, a lot of people do, in the NBA Finals. He's not a good defensive player. Kyrie Irving can give you effort when he can. And then Klay Thompson, he's not the defender he used to be. So I still have concerns about this for the Mavericks as a defense, as how it will help their defense. Here's the thing. The money, fine. I was a little shocked at the years, maybe, that he got 3. I thought somebody might just give him 2. I thought that would be it. I was a little bit shocked at the years, but I guess that's what it took to land him. This is fine for the Mavericks. Do I think it moves the needle that much for them? I'm not really that sure. For the Warriors, look, it was a tough decision with what they had to do. That team's getting very expensive with what they have to pay. They're not a team that wants to be in a second apron. They already have to pay the luxury tax. So it's tough, but in a salary cap sport,
yeah,
all things got to come to an end at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely right on that, man. And salute to everybody in the chat once again. I think this one was interesting. It always fascinates me when legendary players, and Klay Thompson was a Golden State Warriors legend, let's be clear. I mean, and
right.
Only 33. What he was able to accomplish with that team, 4 championships, goes to 5. I mean, incredible. More than 5 finals. But, I mean, just absolutely incredible body of work when you look at it. But it's always fascinating to see how these things get handled when a player is on the decline and it comes to a point where there's a fork in the road for both the player and the team on how you move forward, because it's still a business at the end of the day. And we've seen it. We've seen it with legendary players here in New York. We've seen it with Patrick Ewing, Akeem Olajuwon leaving the Rockets, Derek Jeter, if you want to take it to baseball, and the Yankees, right? It was always Rocky on the way out. Tony Parker with the Spurs. It's never easy to handle that decline, and I think this is what happened here, where at the end of the day, it looks like Klay just wanted a change of scenery, man.
Yeah, and he also still wanted to get paid reasonably well, and I think that's the thing. I think if there was a number probably lower than what he got with the Mavericks, CP, he would have took that money and stayed with the Warriors. But the Warriors are looking at this and saying, are we going to tie this up into a guy who we're now paying to come off the bench? Because that's what happened. He transitioned to that role last year. Is that even worth the money we're going to give him? And at some point, we have to think about getting younger. You mentioned a great point in terms of stars. and that transition, it is really tough. That's one of the hardest things to do in sports in terms of team management, right? Dealing with an aging star. And in this case, it's very specific. Somebody that was part of a core that we could consider dynastic, right? The dynastic team of this era. It's really hard to say, yeah, you're going to go, especially when, and this is where Klay is feeling it too. You saw them keep Steph, which they had to. You saw them keep Draymond, right? Draymond got the bag despite all his crazy problems and ducking the smoke with UCP, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the part where, you know, the feelings get in the way. And he's like, look, I've given a lot, 13 years to this team, 4 championships. I get it, but it's business, man. And it's tough. It's tough in a salary cap league.
He definitely felt disrespected. Now, this was an interesting comment from Richard Jefferson that was kind of going around NBA Twitter last night. I'm going to play the sound bite and let's react to it. This is Richard Jefferson on NBA Today yesterday on the heels of the Klay Thompson news. Here he was.
I've never shared this before out of respect to Klay. Getting off the elevator Christmas Day. This is on Christmas Day.
Of this past year?
Of this past year. I get off the elevator and I see Klay. I'm like, oh, Klay, what's up? He's like, oh, what's up? I'm like, hey, man, keep your mentals right. He's like, man, tell him to pay me my money. This was on Christmas Day. So on Christmas Day, a guy that had won 4 championships, and I don't give a damn what anybody says, how much money they gave him over the years, because he turned their franchise around. That franchise is worth billions of dollars, not just because of Steph, it's also because of Klay. They changed the game. It wasn't just Steph changing the game. It was Steph and Klay in that backcourt.
Absolutely.
So I say that he has a right to be mad.
Now, my reaction to that is, does he have a right to be mad? Yes, he feels disrespected after everything that was built. And a player like Richard Jefferson, for the most part, players are going to stick up for players, right? They want to see everybody get paid. And for the most part, I'm with that. I like to see players get paid for the hard work and the sacrifice they put in, especially when you're winning championships. Supposedly, the Warriors tried to put a 2-year, $48 million offer on the table. It's not clear how serious they were. But obviously, Klay Thompson did not take that. But the bottom line is, it's just as you said, you have to consider the investment that you're going to make in this team of aging stars. When you're a borderline play-in team, you're paying historic numbers in luxury tax. Now, the Celtics are going to beat that number. But last year, it was at like $389 million that they had to pay in payroll and taxes. He's on the decline. Not giving you much defensively. Got benched several times last year. You got to cut the cord, man. It's just the cost of doing business, and most GMs in the league are going to do that, man. Sentiment aside, you got to do what's best for the team.
Yeah, and you know, CP, it doesn't before it gets to the GMs, right? It's the owners and governors, right? That are paying this luxury tax bill. They're not trying to do that. There's a difference, and just so the audience understands, the difference is CP just mentioned. The Celtics, they're going to crush that luxury tax record number this year. They are still in championship contention. You heard what CP just said right there. The Warriors in the West, which is extremely hard, right? Extremely hard. They're a borderline playing team, borderline, and you have to look at that. Now, listen, I understand it too. I'm with you. I like to see players getting paid, I want to see that happen. But at the same time, and I understand he might feel a kind of way. Draymond got his bag, despite all the nonsense he's done, punching people in the face and all that stuff. He still got his bag. And Klay's like, look, I've been a model citizen. I get all that. But the team's just too expensive right now. And they're trying to retool, and they're trying to maximize the last couple of years of Curry if they can. And I mean, that's another thing that, you know, can be talked about, but it's like you said, it's the cost of business right now, especially in this NBA with the new CBA, with the aprons. It's tough. You can't justify paying that much for a team with the luxury tax when you're not in championship contention. Yeah,
no question about it. Now, on the Dallas side, I like it a little bit. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, this is going to be Tony Parker and the Hornets all over again. I mean, it's just going to end just terribly for him. You know, I'm not trying to put that type of juju on Klay Thompson. I think the same adjustment that he had to make with playing off the bench in Golden State, he's going to have to make a similar adjustment. Again, it's adjusting to not being that guy anymore. Right? Like, you're going to have time. Jason Kidd is going to put him on the bench. It's not going to change when he gets to Dallas. It's not like he's just going to go back to prime Klay. Like, he's coming off injuries that it's hard to recover from at his age. So there's going to be a big adjustment to the system and to the team, to the coach and everything. But for Dallas, yes, the shooting is needed for them. I thought they were missing that in the finals. But I also thought they were missing a bit more ball handling and playmaking out there in the perimeter. And I'm not so sure it doesn't solve it. That doesn't solve it. It'll give him a nice spot-up shooter, a guy that can get him some shots up and efficiently in the catch and shoots. But I still think they needed like a tertiary ball handler that can play make out there for them alongside Luka and Kyrie.
I'm with you. I'm with you on this. I'm not anti this move. I'm in the same place as you. I think it's okay. Like I said, 3 years was a little bit shocking for me. But listen, you understand that Klay's camp is pushing. They want the guaranteed money as long as they can get it, because the next contract is not going to be this. So we understand that. In terms of what you said, in terms of the needs of the Mavericks, I also agree with you. They struggled in any minutes where they had to give it to Kyrie, and if Kyrie got doubled, I'm talking about when Luka's on the bench, and you saw the CP, those are minutes they struggled in a ton, and they didn't have that tertiary ball handler that you would like, another scorer. I think that'd be good. Also, you would love it if, and this is hard in this league, to find somebody else who's a good 3-and-D player. Another one could have been really good for them. I don't know who that would have been on this market unless they went and traded for Mikal Bridges, but the Knicks went and did that. So, this is fine. Does it change? I guess I'm throwing this back at you. Does it change how you look at the Mavericks in their ability to get back to the finals or win it all? Does anything change for you as far as that goes, CP?
Nah, because I think OKC definitely got tougher, man. They got my guy Caruso, and they got my guy Hartenstein in there, man.
I know.
They got tougher defensively. They got after it on the boards. They got intangibles. I'm still tight about the iHeart thing, man. I'm still tight. But
it's funny. I was going to text you yesterday, see how you felt about it.
I'm not happy, bro.
I saw on social. I saw you.
I'm not happy about it, man. And Knicks fans are going back and forth this morning. I'm ready to fight, man, because I'm not happy about it. You know what I'm saying? No, this is not prime Shaquille O'Neal, but this is still a guy. And I advocated for iHeart 2 years ago, free agency, to come to the Knicks. Came to the Knicks, and now we got a $30 million deal, man. So
you actually came on. You were one of the people. You came on with me. I remember that before the free agency. You came on with me, and you brought him up as a name you thought they should target. So I remember that. Yeah. Kudos for that, because you were on that.
Big time. But for the Mavs, look, they definitely addressed their shooting need. I like the fact that they got former Knick, my guy, Quentin Grimes, got him out of Detroit, a.k.a. the Night's Watch. And so he's got a chance to rebound his career. Hopefully playing off of Luka and Kyrie will get him a lot more open threes, and he doesn't have to do too much. Najee Marshall, good 3-and-D pickup.
That's a good signing. I like that signing.
Because the Derrick Jones loss to me was pretty big for them, but to get that back in Najee Marshall was good, and getting Klay is good. It's good shooting. Maybe a full year together with Gafford and PJ Washington, like they're still going to be up there in the West, no question. But with OKC making moves and still kind of early in free agency, the West is no guarantees, no slam dunk. No slam dunk whatsoever, man.
No slam dunk. If it was right now, if you ask me, I picked who has finishes with the best record in the West, I'm gonna go with OKC again.
Yeah.
Because I just think they're so good on both sides of the ball right now. I love the two additions they've made, like you said, Caruso and Hartenstein, even though it hurt the Knicks. But yeah, I would have to go there. I think Dallas, could they get back? Sure. Would I bet on them to get back? No, I think there's still some holes there that I don't like. I don't love the team defensively, even though they've got better on defense. But you mentioned a good point there, CP, something that I preach about. You and I have talked about this a lot. Continuity. I think that does matter a little bit with them. And now let's see, with PJ Washington, a full training camp, full year under Jason Kidd, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, those guys in the mix for a full year, bringing in a Quentin Grimes, bringing in Klay Thompson. Let's see how that all gels. And, maybe they're actually stronger come postseason time than they were this year.
CP the Franchise, Dexter Henry in the building. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. I see some of our regulars in the chat, man. Shout out to K. Dot, Jay from PR, JT Riddick, salute. Lee Blocks, and what's going on? Brandon Lee in here, my 2 cents. Checking in from France. We got D Block 1755 in here. Sham BK, salute. We got Jimmy F in the chat, says, pray for all those in Grenada, man. Everybody in the hurricane zone, definitely stay up. A lot of islands impacted right now. So hopefully, if you have family, friends, loved ones out there, hopefully they are keeping safe. The Rhyme Animal Chuck D is in the chat as well, man. Says, Klay argument has been heard millions of times. It's the nature of the business. It's all bound to implode, man. Nothing good lasts forever. And that's why I think that the Warriors are in such an interesting position, because here it is. They lost Klay for the first time in a few years. They're not going to be paying luxury tax, right? They got from underneath the tax stranglehold that they were under. But now they still want to upgrade the team. In Steph Curry's prime, you gave him the bag. You gave Draymond the bag. now they're in this tricky spot. How do we keep this thing rolling here? What do you think, man? What do you think the Dubs need to do, man?
So what, to me, CP, what's hurt the Dubs, right, was the misfires on some of their draft picks the last couple of years. Yeah. Obviously, Wiseman being a bust, that hurt big time, right? That hurt them. That really set them back. Kuminga and Moody. Kuminga looks like a player. He started to emerge into that. Can Moody develop into anything better? We shall see. Now, how do they get there? That's the thing. You've heard that, they were trying for Paul George, right? And they're trying to extend that window with Paul George. That didn't work out. Now you're starting to hear that they're trying to go and talk about, Markkanen in Utah. I was blanking on his name for a second. Markkanen in Utah, who I think is an interesting fit. But you also are hearing that while they would like to pursue that, they don't want to give up a Kuminga. And you're thinking if you're Utah, you're going to want someone like Kuminga back. So I'm not really sure how they extend this window. It's very tough right now. Who's the player that you could plug in that really helps this team? A lot of teams don't want to take Wiggins with the way he struggled the last couple of seasons.
I wouldn't. He's
had some personal things coming up. You said you wouldn't take him, right?
Nah, absolutely not. No.
He's and to be fair, he's had some personal things going on in his life and all that. And wish him the best with that. But I'm not really sure where they can go. I do think Markkanen is a very intriguing fit in terms of the kind of star that you can plug in a lot of places and play very well. But what are you giving up? That's the key. You got to give up something to get something. And Wiggins is not really a selling piece. His value is down. Kuminga, stock is up. And, maybe a couple of picks, but I'm not sure that's enough. We know business with Danny Ainge is never easy. He's going to want a lot more than that. Yeah. So I'm honestly, CP, I'm not sure where they go. It might come to a point after this season where they really have to consider, do we blow this up?
Yeah.
Like, do we actually just have to say we're ending the whole thing? I know it's going to be weird seeing Steph Curry play someplace else, but that's kind of probably what it's going to take because there's not much high value on there. The most you can get in return on that team is really Steph Curry. I know it's crazy to say right now, but they might just have to blow it up. It just might truly be the end of an era completely.
Death of a dynasty, man. And boy, oh boy, who's smiling right now in a sailboat somewhere in Anguilla but Bob Myers. He's probably like, man.
He got out at the right time.
He got out of Dodge. He said, new CBA, all of this. I got 4 rings. Mike Dunleavy here. No backseas. It's all on you. Good luck, kid. Don't call me. Just leave me a voicemail. I'll text you back. I mean, it's just crazy, bro, because, look, Markkanen, it would be a nice upgrade for any team. Would be a nice addition to any team. He's still in his prime. High volume, efficient shooter, can play big, plays very small, but has some size on him. Played tough for Utah, but you're dealing with Danny Ainge, and you're not dealing from a position of strength. So for Golden State, I'm wondering, because Markkanen alone is not going to help them, is not going to help move the needle for them in the West. They're still going to be on an uphill climb. So is it really worth, again, moving back on a true rebuild just to get him in here and save face for the remaining years of Steph Curry's career? I'm not necessarily sure that that's worth it. They have the 2025 first-round pick, 2027, and 4 pick swaps to work with in the near future. So, and that's the thing with what you said. Like, in the past, the reason why they haven't been able to jumpstart on a rebuild is because they haven't drafted well.
Yeah, and that was the thing. They were trying to do the 2 timelines thing, right? They were trying to win at the same time while they incorporated young guys. And I'm not saying you can't do it, but when that happens, when you need that to happen, you better hit on somebody. We saw the Spurs able to extend their window of doing things. You know why? Because they drafted Kawhi Leonard. That helped a ton. Yeah. They got Tony Parker right before that, in that window. And so that helps. You have to really hit, and they didn't hit, and that really hurt them. You think about it. Had they taken somebody else with that number 2 pick, it could have been a lot different for the Warriors in terms of extending their window.
Yeah, no question about it. Ishan Harus in the chat says, I prefer y'all over Worst Take by leaps and bounds, but I got to get some ladies in the rotation more regularly. I know you're trying, just saying. So, listen, we had a lady guest on
we
tap.
Did.
We had a lady guest on tap, man.
We did on tap.
She couldn't make it.
We did. We did. And it would have came to, she's a great guest. She would have came on. Hopefully we get her back on together. Good friend of mine. She'll be on here.
Yeah. So let's see what Dunleavy does here, because so far, from turning Jordan Poole into CP3 and then that experiment flopping out and basically getting nothing for it. He gave Draymond the bag. He's Mr. New Media. I think he's going to get to a point where, it's not just, he's not worth the theatrics. You know, I think last year was the turning point.
How are we not at that point?
Right,
Like how are we not there yet with him? Where it's like seriously, like going into this season, is he worth the theatrics? Like, no. But what's his value?
Right.
Like true story on that. Like, what's his value if they wanted to move off of him? Who would want him?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right, man. So what's interesting overall, like from the Warriors to other teams, I mean, this has been the summer of the CBA, man. Because when you think about it, they had a deal, close, according to some accounts, that they could have gotten Paul George. Clippers balked at it because of the potential CBA impact, the potential long-term impact on their books. Warriors had to make these cost-cutting efforts like CP3, like Klay Thompson, because of their books. I mean, like the Knicks losing iHeart based on CBA terms. You know, a lot of teams, man, this has really impacted a ton of teams in the NBA from being able to make moves. And you've seen it here, man. I mean, you know, Nuggets losing out between last year and this year. Their whole supporting cast is gone. Yep. That got into the championship.
Yeah, and it's all different situations, and I'm glad you mentioned them all because I think the Clippers and the Warriors, when you look at them, CP, those decisions were made because they had to look at their teams and say, hey, paying the luxury tax, going to be in the second apron, is our team good enough to win a championship? Right. Especially with the Clippers, I think they looked around and said, it's not
worth it.
It's not worth it. So it's better else let Paul George go, bring back Harden. It wouldn't shock me this season if you saw the Clippers, if they're middling around 500, if they just say, we're fire sale. Yeah. Trade James Harden, trade Kawhi Leonard. Wouldn't also shock me if you saw the Warriors do it. The Knicks, a little bit of a different situation. CBA hurt them, right, in terms of they couldn't offer Hartenstein more, and he obviously went and took the bag in OKC, which we can't be mad at him for.
Yeah.
But listen, all these teams are looking how they can maneuver around the cap. Denver, you mentioned, no Bruce Brown, right? Losing him, losing KCP, and saying we're going to have Christian Braun slide up. Okay, maybe that works out for you. Christian Braun can play D, but offensively, don't know. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Now it's really about maneuvering the cap and how can you extend your windows when you have them. You know, Right now you got to look at the NBA as a 2-year window, and everything is fluid and constantly changing. You know what I mean? Constantly changing.
Things are changing, man. Is there a move that you liked over others in free agency so far? I mean, it's been pretty lackluster so far.
I really do like KCP going to Orlando. I think that's a really good move for a team that already was really good defensively, won 47 games last year, obviously struggled from the outside, one of the worst in terms of attempts and three-point percentage. So I like that move because I think it's also an adult in the room for that team. I think he can help them a lot. So I really did like that move. I'm really struggling to think about another one in free agency.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I do like Chris Paul to San Antonio.
Okay.
I do like that because I think, you know, if you watch the San Antonio games last year, and obviously everybody had their eyes on Big Vic, and you know what he can do and how great he is defensively. But, man, when you watch that whole experiment with Jeremy Sohan running the point, it's like they couldn't get an entry pass into Wembanyama. So having a professional, an adult in the room again, CP, and CP3, who is one of the great point guards of all time, I think that's good for the development of that team going forward. Does it elevate them to a playoff team? No. Does it probably get them at the bottom end of the play-in? Possibly. And I think that's a huge win for that team. CP3 with Greg Popovich going forward. I think that's huge for them. So I think that's another signing that I really like. I'd probably also add Derrick Jones Jr., who I think is a really good role player, good for the Clippers and how they're reinvesting their money. I think that's also a good one. But you're right. It's been kind of a lackluster, ho-hum couple of days of free agency. Maybe it heats up. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, man. You still got a couple names out there. Miles Bridges out there. DeMar DeRozan still out there. I think DeRozan was trying to get the bag, but I don't know, man. You know, I think. And what about the Lakers? Lakers haven't been making any moves yet, man.
You know, it's funny, and you mentioned DeMar DeRozan. I wonder if he's a target for the Lakers. But to your point, I think what you're alluding to there, CP, is the fact that this is day 3. DeMar DeRozan has not been signed as a 35-year-old wing. He probably is not. He and his agent, I have no information on this. They're probably not hearing the numbers that they want to hear. And I wonder what his value is on this open market right now. And is he going to take less? Is he going to sign for a 1-year deal with the Lakers? Maybe at the mid-level exception. It's it's gonna be really interesting. It's really interesting that he's still out there. There's some names out there. Obviously, you mentioned Miles Bridges, but he's got the whole domestic violence situation around him.
Yeah.
So there's still some decent names out there, but we'll see what happens. It's gonna be interesting next couple of days.
Man, go home, go with the Lakers, man. You could go hang out with K-Dot every day, be home in L.A. DeRozan to the Lakers, that should have been done years ago. Both sides need each other. Because if I'm a Laker fan and if all I got out of this offseason was J.J. Redick as my coach dropping F-bombs, Bronny James gate, and a 40-year-old LeBron James on a 3-year deal, I'm selling my season tickets, man. Laker Nation is down bad right now with these investments. They need something to be happy about. So we'll see what happens, man.
We'll see. They're an interesting team because, I like the draft. I like Dalton Connect. I like that pick.
Yeah.
Bronny James, I mean, I think you probably could have done better at 55, but you understand who's calling the shots there. The Lakers. Here's the other thing with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. They were all in on Klay, CP. So they went all in on Klay. So other names that they could have signed went past. They could have used the Derrick Jones Jr.
Big time.
They could have used the Najee Marshall. They could have. I thought Klay was not a good fit for them anyway, but that's the problem with the Lakers. They're all in on names. We got to criticize it. The management just hasn't been good out there. It almost feels like the Knicks 15 to 20 years ago. It kind of is a little bit like that. They're very like, what's the plan? At least with the Clippers and the Warriors, they clearly chose a path, and you have to respect that.
True indeed, man. Shout out to the Rhyme Animal Chuck D $5 super chat. Says Big Dex salutes like CP. I'm tight with the iHeart loss. As a fan, the CBA's a disaster. You bros keep keeping us calm, man. Salute to the Rhyme Animal Chuck D.
Salute,
Dex,
Chuck.
Great show. Well, let's catch up and do this again real soon, man. Let's get it popping, man.
Yes, sir. Catch up real soon. Thank you to everybody for the love for Grenada. Pray for Grenada. Everybody
Absolutely.
out there, pray for Jamaica with the hurricane headed that way too. So thank you. Appreciate you, CP, man.
Yes, sir.
We'll
Everybody at home, thanks for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, remember that the show is available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. We are available on all major podcast platforms. And if you do miss today's show, just go ahead and hit the rewind button. Salute to the replay gang. Have a great day. We out of here, man.